Hey folks, I'm going to try a different format for my daily TikTok today. I've been getting so many comments from people who don't seem to understand that this notion that, well, if you're not doing anything wrong or you have nothing to hide, then what's the big deal about talking to the police? What's the big deal about consenting to a search? And I just had an exchange with someone in the comments threads for my video from yesterday, where I think it was a she. If it's not a she, I apologize. But whoever this user is was saying that this notion that the police can twist what you say to them or only put parts of what you say to them in the reports is irrelevant because body cams exist now, and everything that a defendant says, not a defendant, a suspect or an individual says to the police is recorded. And so there's no twisting or misstating or incorrectly paraphrasing what a suspect says. And that's false. This person, good meaning I presume, was assuming that the system works way more efficiently and way more fairly than it actually does. I pointed out to this person that although it is true that everything a defendant says would potentially be recorded on body cam footage, and that's assuming that the police officer actually activated it at the right time, that the officer did not mistakenly mute the camera, which is something that happens that I've seen. It also assumes that the officer is not obscuring their microphone, which is something that I have seen. But let's assume that the body cam footage is all clean, it's working great. This person was also falsely assuming that the DA, the district attorney or the county attorney in my jurisdiction, the prosecutor, would review this footage before issuing the case, before charging the case. And that's a huge misassumption. This person does not appreciate that even in a relatively small jurisdiction, the amount of cases that a line prosecutor has to deal with, an issuing prosecutor has to deal with, is huge. Tucson City Court, which is the local misdemeanor court here in Tucson, Arizona, has so many cases that there are 2 prosecutors assigned to each judge's courtroom, and they split up the alphabet. And so one prosecutor will get the A's through, let's say, M's, and then the other prosecutor will get the N's through Z's, or whatever the breakdown is. And they need to have 2 prosecutors. And when you go into Tucson City Court for a regular calendar, you'll see there are at least 2 prosecutors at the prosecutor's table, and they're just going through files. And when you talk to them as a defense attorney, you talk to them about your case, it's refreshing and surprising when they actually know the case that you're talking to them about, because that's uncommon. And it's not their fault. They have way too many cases. So this idea that they would sit down and review body cam footage for every case before they decide to issue it is false. It's just not practical. And so that doesn't happen. You got to remember that a law enforcement interaction that results in an arrest is going to take, what, at best 15 minutes? And that's fast. I mean, usually we're talking about at least an hour, hour and a half. And if there's multiple officers, then you got to figure out which officers get this angle. This is what I do as a defense attorney. Like when I get a case and I get a bunch of body cam footage, we review it. We review it closely. We see if my client was misquoted. And that happens more often than you think. So this idea that, oh, well, it's all recorded anyway. Sure. But until I get involved, no one's looking at that body cam footage. So the recording does not help avoid the case. I'm not cheap. I'm not going to lie about that. Hiring me is an expense. It's an expense that I'm sure my clients would rather not have to make. And so the fact that there's a recording that's going to clear things up and help the case get dismissed is cold comfort if they had to go hire me for several thousands of dollars to actually go point out to the prosecutor, hey, the video shows that what the cops say happened did not actually happen. And it is amazing how often that's the case, that the video shows that what happened is different from what's in the police reports. The DAs, they rely on what the police put in their reports to decide whether or not to charge a case. And if that is inaccurate, to put it nicely, then we end up with a case that should have never been charged in the first place. And sure, we get it dismissed later, but the harm of the accusations, the harm of the potential initial incarceration, the harm of having to pony up the money to get me to point out to the prosecutor what could have been avoided in the first place, that cannot be undone just because the case gets dismissed anyway. So this idea that, well, if you're doing nothing wrong, why not just give everything away, is because when you give them everything they need to arrest you, they will arrest you. And the truth can be twisted, can be misquoted, can be taken out of context. So I felt like for today, I wanted to take a little bit of a longer time to explain all this to you guys and hopefully quiet some of the chatter in my comments that I'm frankly getting a little tired of responding to, because you can only tell people so many times that the best policy is to remain silent, demand an attorney, and refuse to consent to any searches. Don't give the police ways to screw with you. Whether you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing or you're not doing something you're not supposed to be doing, don't give police ways to screw with you. Anyway, remember, you have rights. They do matter. You need to protect them. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.